All right, I think I might be live. If you're there, you can welcome to say hello. Um, Brian's going to be joining me shortly. Hope you had a great day, and I'm going to enjoy a refreshing beverage here right now. There, I see Brian jumping on. I guess I'll let him in. Hey, Brian,
Hi, Dan.
here you are. What's happening?
Oh, I just got done with my pole workout.
Good for you.
Maybe I should blur the background.
No, no, no. If you want to share some of that a little later, this is all, whatever comes to mind. You do the pole workout with the guitar on the pole. Oh, that's great. Well, that might be for another episode if you ever come back.
Yeah, that'll get some views.
Do you like play music for the pole dancing, or is that a combination?
No, no, that's a distraction.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to do just a brief introduction here, and again, thanks for coming on. And I think you've watched maybe at least a little part of my little adventure here, and I'll just share my intent if nobody's watched this up to this point. It's just taking a month and putting it out there, and this is my busking adventure. Like, this is my journey from going to intentionally creating, about an hour set to go out in the street and see if I can, yeah, just put it out there for whatever reasons. And Brian's already bored with my story, so he's putting on glasses. Um, Anyways, and Brian's a friend from years ago, and we've had similar paths. And I wanted to share a story too, because Brian, and maybe I've told you this, but our oldest daughter Stephanie took lessons from you, and we were big into church at the time. I mean, I was playing it was a mega church. I was playing in the band. Kids were had our kids go to Christian school, and the first song that you taught Stephanie was "Highway to Hell," and I thought that was so awesome that you did that. Go ahead.
Me? My
Yeah.
bad.
No, that's all good. That is good. And it's because of that she's clearly on the path that she wants to go on. So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah. Yeah. Um, so I just thought it would be good to have a conversation about a couple of things that came to mind. And this isn't rehearsed. Neither one of us know what we're talking about. Well, you know what you're talking about when you speak, but I don't know where this is going to go. But my intention is to bring value to folks that might be considering doing something that they've maybe put off, and there might be some fear, there might be some things going on. And I know, Brian, you teach folks that might be picking up music later in life, or they've had it in the past, and maybe come to you for direction. So, is there anything that, uh, with your vast depth of wisdom, that you want to share as far as, like, what do you tell people? What do they need to focus on? Do you have any initial questions that you ask them when they show up and say, "I want to play Highway to Hell" on stage in front of thousands of people, or something to that effect? Whatever it is.
Yeah, typically I take their goals into consideration. You know what I mean? Because everybody's different and stuff like that. But music's pretty much the same, being, uh, uh, a language and a tool for us to communicate and express ourselves.
Yeah.
Um, and so for that purpose, I teach a lot of music, and
Like different styles, or what do you mean by that?
yeah, well, all of the theory,
Okay.
yeah, it kind of starts with the major scale and just goes from there. But it goes on for a while, and you can't really express yourself if you don't understand how the language works.
Yeah, got it. So people come in, they say, I don't care about all that stuff. I just want to learn the song.
Yeah, and that happens on occasion. Most of the time, with the internet now, people can go learn the song off the internet, stuff like that, and then they're gonna find out that that's doesn't tick all the boxes, so to speak, or check all the
Yeah.
boxes, and a lot of times that'll be a avenue for moving on to something else.
Like no more music.
Yeah, just advanced listening, um,
Right.
or something. But yeah, the guitar playing or learning any instrument's a journey, and it's not a destination, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's big. I mean, it's a good life lesson too, right?
absolutely, yeah. And there was a book a friend of mine gave me a long time ago called The Practicing Mind,
Hmm.
and it was written by a piano tuner. And yeah, it had talked about that. If your goal is to be a practicing musician, that's gonna um, probably serve other goals a lot better than you
Yeah.
know than wanting to be a rock star. But yeah, practicing. If your goal is to practice and stuff like that, that's a really good goal that you can achieve all the time, and it'll take you places and stuff like that. It's one of the methods that you'll achieve all your other goals. So, you know, um,
I mean, I just want to bring some attention to that. I mean, just the practicing for practice sake. There's so much value in just what you said there, um, and I think people myself, I tend to think about the destination. What's this going to get? And the more that I can slow down and just be with what I'm doing, not saying I do it all the time, maybe a lot of the time, but the more that I do, the more progress that I see of doing that versus just trying to get through it.
totally, yeah.
Anything I do.
Well, and then I think it's like the book was saying something to the effect of fulfillment. So if your goal is to learn a particular song and stuff, you'll achieve that goal, and then you're gonna be needing another goal right away. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? To be fulfilled, because and there's something about the pursuing of the goal. So if the goal is to be a practicing musician, that's a great goal.
that's good.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
I want
really
to be a
good.
practicer. I want to be working on music daily, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
and that's something you can do every day, right? Yeah,
yeah, yeah, and some goals facilitate achieving other goals. So it's cool. And when I got your note, and we decided to do this, and I looked at what you had going. That's a tall order to try to get a lot of value out of one lesson. To help you move forward and stuff like that. Because the journey of learning a guitar is a lifelong journey for most of us. And yeah, yeah, and that's kind of where the lessons come in. But what I do in a situation like yours, where it's like you got a gig coming up, sometimes you practice for the gig.
yeah, yeah.
And that's what I do, and that's what I did last week, and that's what I'll do next week. And the gigs are changing, and so I have to practice for the gig, but I also include practice for myself and practice for different parts of myself too.
What do you mean by that?
Sometimes I just put on some background music, and YouTube's so awesome for that. You just let the playlist go, and you noodle along, and you work on your ear, and you work on your
Okay,
melodicism and your phrasing and other things that you might be practicing, intervallic sequences, you know, different things. And so there's this improvisational aspect of that, but it's also kind of meditative for me,
got it.
and I use it for like uh, my own spiritual purposes, worship and things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's all. It's kind of a balancing act.
Yeah, that's good. That definitely ties into being, a practicing musician. And
Yeah,
that,
because I find that, sometimes I'll get a tall order and I got to work on other people's musical goal, for 4 or 5 days, 8 hours a day to be
wow.
ready for the gig.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, and that happens. And I still try to keep time in there for me to do my own musical practices. You know what I'm saying?
You have
Because
consistent things you do every day, like you have a goal of a gig coming out, but you still like to keep up with your thing. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, and if I'm sitting there with a guitar or bass on all day and I'm not attending to my own musical needs and goals, and just somebody else's, then that runs me dry pretty quick.
It's great to recognize that because I've known a lot of musicians over my few years that I've lived, and there's some that are just burned out. Some that are still doing it, and it becomes a grind and a job. And I love that you're saying that, and that you're finding your joy, you're finding your fulfillment, you're making sure that you're keeping time for that, and I think that's important.
Should have heard me and my buddy talking on the phone earlier today. He works at the airport loading luggage, and he's like 70 years old. He should have retired a long time ago, but and he's a bass player professional. And somebody called him to do 18 nights in a row or 18 gigs for $1,800. He said, "Dude, I make more at work."
That's sad.
And it's
That's
like, yeah,
sad, but
you don't
so
want
true.
to. I told him you don't want to go off of that one right there, because you'll always make more at work.
Yeah, yeah.
But
That
yeah,
that's sad but true, right? For most musicians, it's a tough road to get to that level where you can do that and get paid um, more than what people can do putting their time in doing something else. So,
well, yeah, it starts to thin things out quite a bit. People that are going to go out and play for that, for the love of music. It's a beautiful thing. However, it devalues, uh, some of the different aspects of music.
yeah. Well, I want to touch on what you're doing, the All Things Guitar, and that's something you're building. You're looking to build a following and create something of that, and ideally, that's going to provide you some leverage, I imagine. Maybe.
Well, yeah, I'm glad that we're plugging that. Please join All Things Guitar as a member,
Yeah.
and be a contributor and throw
Yeah.
some stuff up there. Let us know what you got going and what your goals are and what your needs are and things like that. And be involved, and we can grow that group and have it be something really cool for all of us.
Yeah. And I'll put a link on that. I'll make sure when I'm done here, I'll put the link on so folks can come back to that. So yeah, that's cool. And I love seeing musicians find ways to keep the passion alive and also understand, you got to keep food on the table and build your net worth and all of that stuff.
Well, yeah, and there's something of value like to music. I mean, for all of us, and everybody has their own relationship to music and with music, and so none of us get to say, oh, you're messed up, you got it wrong, you listen to the wrong kind of music, you're not listening to real music. All of those different things. It's a great place for us to learn and grow and quit being so judgmental, but also to it just brings so much value to each person and to whole groups of people. I feel so connected to Seattle uh, as a community through music.
Yeah,
It's been a great run,
that's awesome.
and
Well,
that looks
speaking of that, I just today, Eddie Ferguson gave me a call, and he's watched a couple of these things, and he said to tell you, hello. He's got fond memories of you guys' relationship from back in the day.
well. Eddie was my first bass teacher. He showed me
Is that right?
he showed me the modes of the major scale, and he the valuable information that he gave me in my beginning is still with me to this day, and I still teach
Wow,
it and stuff like that. So he's a brilliant, wonderful human being, and
that is.
I can't help but notice that's a fancy bass you got in your lap there.
This bass.
How many strings do you need? It's a
Well,
12 string bass.
it's a 12. It's not a bass. Let's not get people confused. This is not a bass. Um, I think uh, I can't see that because you got the blur thing on there.
There you go.
Oh, there's six. Yeah.
I guess Zoom is only designed to recognize spaces, not guitars.
Yeah, when you got the background in where you're blocking out your poles or whatever you got there, that's what that does. Are you in up on the top there? Are you in original sound for musicians? If you look on your upper right, does it say off or on? Original sound for musicians on your screen on the upper right. You might have to scroll up there before it opens up.
I'm looking up there. It doesn't say anything like that. Let me check out view.
If you put your
Set up professional audio and audio settings. So I'm in audio settings now, and microphone. What am I looking for?
No, for mine, it says original sound from, maybe it applies to you anyway. So if you want to just play something, let me just see. Because sometimes if you don't have that on, it cuts out the music because it thinks what you're saying is what's important. Yeah, I can hear. Cool.
So
Yeah, I can hear it.
that little blurry background's not working, huh?
Now the blur, we don't need the blur.
Okay.
Yeah, you're cool without it. Yeah, you're still. Yeah, now we'll be able to see everything. Right on. Okay. So I love what you said about lessons too, and the value of taking lessons and continuing to show up. And I think I mentioned something. Well, I mentioned I've taken two vocal lessons recently. I've taken them in the past, and I would do the lessons, and I'd go right to the gig and just blow out everything that I learned. And so I'm still working on loosening up a lot of these things, and there's a lot of work to be done. But the vocal instructor was giving me a hard time. So what? After one lesson, you know, yeah, I want it. I want it right now. I want it instant. So
Well, on that note about this lesson and stuff like that, there's not a lot I can do with anybody who comes in for a one-off.
yeah,
And so what I would do, because it happens, is I want to get in your head and help you get in the right mind space to move forward. It's like that's all you can do is move forward from this moment. And
yeah,
how are you going to go about that? So yeah, there's a lot of work to do, and you're not going to get it all done. But that's not how we define success. I got all the work done,
yeah, yeah,
or whatever that may
good.
be. But yeah, you got to get in that mind space that you're going into this, and you're going to do it.
Yeah,
And so you've got this much time until you have to show up and get that done. And what are the weakest parts? Because the weakest part is the part that's going to implode on you.
yeah. So I got a couple of things just with in playing this bass guitar. If I'm going to
Hmm.
do this one, the cool thing about this is it's composite, and I really don't have to tune it. I mean, with the 12 strings, it stays in tune really well. It gets hot and cold, but it's 12 strings, and it so has those lighter strings. And if I'm not strumming, it gets the extra twang, in there. So I have to be really careful about my strumming. I use a pretty flexible pick for the strumming. I've called myself a strummer for years, which basically means I'm avoiding the practicing of the things I need to learn. So, so I just strum a bunch of chords and get through songs.
There's a different way to frame that
Let's tell me about it. I
that
think the world
description.
needs to know.
Hey, you're a strummer, which is another way of saying that you strum. You don't pick.
I do want to pick more, and I'm developing a little bit of things, with the picking, but mainly with what I'll be doing for this is strumming.
Yeah, and so me and you talked about it briefly. You could practice picking all day, every day for the rest of your life, and you won't die being too good of a picker. So, you have to balance that in with the rest of the things that you want to do on the guitar and stuff like that. But yeah, um, people very few people understand, what a lot of guys will go through as far as practice is concerned and what they put themselves through. There's got at any time of the day or night, somebody's practicing.
Yeah, yeah. And there's some phenomenal kids out there that have, they put the time in. And I think that's what people may not recognize is just what the commitment is to get to a level of expertise. And, I've been picking this up for probably 15 minutes a day for, I don't know, 15 years. And it's hard. I've been consistent at least doing that, but to really get to a level of even busking, for an hour, it's hard work, and it's hard on the fingers and all of that. So, but I love it. I love the practicing and I love the developing.
Give
Yeah.
me 1 minute.
All right. So if anyone has any comments, I don't see any on Facebook Live. Hopefully we're Facebook Live, but if for some reason we're not, I do have it recorded. So.
All right. Yeah. If you're out there, give us a 5 in the comments. I heard somebody say that. I always wanted to say that.
Yeah. Give us a 5, huh?
Give us a 5 in the comments if you agree.
Okay.
So, I sent you that message to maybe take note of a couple of spots that you feel are trouble spots for you in your set.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. I would say okay, I'm not sure if I'm going to do this yet or not. This Ventura Highway. It has a little, but I think this is good to slow this down. And I'm doing this portion of it, and then I jump over to this. So I'll just demonstrate what I've been doing. So I may be able to get that. It might be a little sloppy.
If you don't, so what I do in a situation like that is I would develop a backup plan because that lacks, that part of the song, that melody guitar line kind of requires some accompaniment.
Yeah.
I don't recall what's going on during that part of the song, but I think the band
Harmony and strumming behind it. So
yeah,
there's
yeah. Yeah, so that really helps get that across. So if you can't have that kind of accompaniment and you're a little sketchy with your technique on it, maybe there's a way around it that would better serve the song and the
Yeah.
gig. Like if you're just playing the chord progression and doing your strumming, and people may not know what it is until you come in with the vocal melody, that's perfectly okay. That's better than demonstrating that you didn't get the riff together.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, at least, I played a little bit just, somebody's listening, and also being a drummer, it's more important for me to keep the rhythm going and just messing up, and just keeping it moving forward. So that would be my go-to is I messed it up, but I'm not going to stop.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a great one right there for sure. A lot of guitar players, singers, songwriters, and stuff like that. They'll play their stuff differently when they're doing acoustic solo than they play their stuff when the whole band's there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, so you gotta figure out what's gonna work for the gig, and sometimes that's impossible without being on the gig.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, for me, I would have something else ready for that, like just the chord progression and the strumming.
Yeah.
And then you can decide right in the moment, like on Love is Blind. You ever watch that?
I
Half
might have
of them
seen it.
half of them
Part.
don't decide if they're gonna marry this person till they're standing at the altar. They're like, okay, I don't.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. And
Plan B, right
Yeah,
there.
yeah, having a and it would probably be honestly with this song is just I'm not going to do it. But I'll keep practicing because it's a good exercise for me to do those, hammer-ons and pull-offs and see if I can keep them smooth and going to the other chords. So I think I'll see how that goes. But I understand it may fall flat no matter what because I don't have the rest of that in there. So
I'm not going to have you teach me that riff at your lesson,
no,
but yeah, to try to slide that in there with those chords and stuff like that, I'm imagining that guitar player probably resolved those riffs to the chords like you're doing.
yeah.
So, but what are the chords? How's the chord progression go when you stop doing that riff?
Uh,
Ventura Highway
yep,
and the sun
yeah,
shine. So you could get away with that, Dan. Those melodies are key, and you're gonna want to, um, y- you know, I like what you're doing with your voice. I'm glad you're taking lessons, and you have such a you go right to your sweet spot for all of these melodies. I noticed that the stuff that you've shared on
mm,
the live stuff, it's dif- your sweet spot's different than mine. So when I hear that song that you're playing, and I'm about to chime in with you, thinking my vocal line and stuff like that, I'm deeper than you. I come in as a baritone, you're more in that tenor range naturally kind of thing. So
it's a stretch, but yeah,
yeah, it's a stretch or whatever, but it seems like your natural tone's just a couple notches above mine. So but that is the most important aspect of what you have here. This and your connection to the people that are listening. They're gonna love these songs. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna be they're gonna be bopping along, dude. And if they're not, then ask them what they want to hear.
yeah.
But
So
that
I'll bring
happened.
that back next time.
Yeah, that happened to us. The last time somebody asked what these people, these hecklers in the audience wanted to hear, they yelled, "Turn up the radio" by Autograph. The guitar player was like, "Don't look at me."
The plug for Steve.
And
I love
I
it.
was like, "Yeah, don't ask people what they want to hear no more."
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, shout
yeah,
out to Steve Lynch, our brother.
yeah.
So nobody can play his stuff.
Oh,
There comes the sun shining through my window. Now,
okay.
yeah, that's one of those things, and the best advice that I could give on that is have a plan B, because you might
Yeah,
decide right there in the moment that that is not the time for you to demonstrate that you need to work on that riff some more.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, have a plan B ready to go that this is going to be simple for you.
So a couple other things, and there's a few songs to where I'm doing similar things, like I'm strumming and then I'm attempting to do some picking, like um, uh, uh, what is it? When it goes to that part,
Yeah, I heard you doing that when you demonstrated it on the live.
yeah, it's it's probably the same thing. Is just slow down and
It seems like that was some kind of major shift.
oh the that's Wild World.
Oh, Wild World had that major scale. Yeah.
So
How would you play that without that line in there?
I just carry the chord on.
Let's hear it.
So uh, baby, baby. Uh,
Bye, bye. Yeah.
yeah. So now because I'm so used to doing that. That's a I don't.
Yeah, that's our line.
Yeah, now I have to think about where the chords actually go because I'm so used to just doing it that way.
Do you have that charted out?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, good, because that's really beneficial. And then but yeah, that's another thing right there, you could get into a situation too or in a live performance that your hands just aren't cooperating.
What?
Yeah, that happens.
Uh,
Especially under that type of duress and stuff like that,
Duress?
until you get comfortable busking,
Yeah,
and then you can step out and push yourself technically and physically and things like that. But yeah, I wouldn't go into this situation that you're walking into without a plan B that you can really uh
yeah,
hammer home. And
yeah,
so I have a really my own note system that I'm able to take, a number system. So I'll put the name of the song in the key and then a number system.
yeah.
And over the decades, I've learned how to really make some efficient notes. And so the hardest part of my night half the time is remembering the name of the song.
Good.
Yeah. And one of the things that I do that's boosted my memory over the years is well, I got a book called Doubling Your Brain Power.
You wrote?
No,
Okay.
and I didn't even read it because the first chapter was so good I didn't have to.
Just double things.
The first chapter changed my life because it was all about memory. So
Okay.
apparently, if you are learning and you don't remember what you learned, then you're no smarter for it.
Yeah, maybe even
Yeah.
dumber
Yeah, and I
because
was
you
like,
didn't
this is
retain
this
it.
is what I'm looking for. That was what I was looking for out of the book because I really wanted to be able to remember all the music theory when I would go to teach students and stuff like that. I'd be
Yeah,
grabbing my notebooks and going and sniffing for something that it's like it's in here somewhere. I know I can't remember how it goes, but I have it here somewhere.
yeah,
And yeah, I needed to eliminate that part of my teaching thing and memorize all of the theory. So it's the same for songs, man. There was a band I played with back in the 2010s, man, and we would mash everything together in medleys. So
yeah.
it'd be verse, chorus, next song,
Right on to the next. Yeah,
without it, yeah, everything to the same drum beat.
yeah.
And so there was like 90 songs on the set list, and I remember thinking, uh, I gotta know what the next song is because it's gonna come around the corner here after this chorus. I'm looking down at the set list and it's just a whole page of songs, and I'm thinking, what song am I playing? How can I
Uh,
tell what the next song is if I don't know what I'm playing?
yeah.
So
Don't know which one you were coming from.
so the thing about this book was that it said, you know, right away, it gives you some information about the power of our mind and actually how little of our brain we actually use.
Yeah,
And so that and the question of where is our memory stored, because they don't know. So they put on diodes and they notice though that um, when you're speaking, your brain is hyperactive. you know um, there's a lot going on when you're speaking with air inhalation and retention and all of the muscles for enunciation
yeah,
and the whole ball game, not to mention dialogue. What are you talking about?
yeah, yeah.
And so apparently when you say something out loud, it gets filed in the memory filing cabinet right in the front of the drawer.
Okay.
You pull it out, you're like, hey, oh yeah, I remember this. And it's right there, filed perfectly in the front
Just
because you
said
said
it.
it out loud.
Yeah.
But before all of the speaking it out loud, you have to the book said, first of all, you have to believe that you'll remember, that you have a great memory and that you will remember. If you don't believe you'll remember, then just forget it.
That's awesome.
So
Hey,
first things first.
I want to
Uh,
respect your time. We're already 30 minutes into it, and I so appreciate you showing up. And I don't want to cut you short either, but I want to just put that out there.
Okay. So yeah, believe you'll remember, and also learn with intent to remember. I will. I'm learning this now because I need to remember this, and I will remember this because I have a great memory, and then I have the tools to say it out loud and boost my ability to remember and recall this information, and also writing things out. So whatever that method is that you have for writing things out, say it out loud. Also, I notice with most of my students. They think they're speaking with me. I'll go, come on, say it with me. And they'll be like, 1, 2, and then they stop, and then I'm like, I'm the only one counting here.
Yeah.
Say it with me. And they're like, what? I thought I was counting.
Yeah.
You weren't counting, dude.
Yeah.
And yeah, so speaking out loud is a huge thing, and that can help you remember those chords that you were just talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you find yourself not able to as you approach this gig, then make sure that you have a note system accessible in front of you so you can just,
Yeah.
are you
Yeah.
planning on bringing in your music stand to the gig?
I'm going to actually. I think at least what I'm planning so far is I do have a portable system to where I'll be amplified, and I've got an iPad, little cheat iPad there. So I do have that for backup. Maybe I'll have everything memorized, but I'll be ready to go with that. So I'll probably do that.
Yeah, and I practice for the gig, so a lot of times I'm looking at my notes that I'm going to be looking at on stage while
That's
I'm
good.
practicing. So it
Yeah.
all makes sense, and I practice it in the order, and I practice for the gig, man, because that happens to me so many times that I can't afford to be off, man.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't have time to memorize things, so I have to use notes.
Well, I think a couple of things I want to go back on is just, and I kind of joked about it, or we joked about it, is when you're actually in the gig, like everything goes, there is a heightened, um, at least perceived stress, whatever that is, that we make up probably, and it's there, and because we think it's real, it is, right? So
Fight or flight, right?
yeah, and so our hands might not work as well as we thought they were, and we practice. And my voice now is all tightened up, so I know that it's just preparing for. So that may happen, and what am I going to do? And so for anybody listening, it's the same thing is probably just a lot of repetition and doing that, and also being prepared and just let your body do what it's going to do. Well, for the most part, and continue on with that.
Yeah, mindset and stuff is key here, Dan. You know, yeah, luckily you've been, what is that? You're a veteran of 1,000 psychic wars, as Blue Oyster Cult once said, on the heavy metal soundtrack.
And that's just by with myself.
Yeah, and so the guitar lessons, they're a ongoing thing, man. If you had walked into my thing, I would ask you if you know where C sharp is on the A string.
Hmm.
Dan, do you know where C sharp is on the A string? Okay, so you're in business. Do you know what makes a chord major or minor?
I do the third.
Okay, cool. So could you play a C sharp minor chord?
I could.
Beautiful. Yeah, and then I would ask, do you know the major scale and all of its modes?
Um, I don't remember the names of them, but I know it's going from one up to the next one to the next one, staying in the same diatonic scale.
Okay. Yeah, you're on the right track there. And I'm guessing then that you know your major scale because of what we had just.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So the major scale is like the DNA of music.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. And these are the things, and I love that you're saying that because for me, it's been so easy to just know I got to learn, I want to learn this song. And I'm encouraged. And also, another friend has turned me on to some things, and we actually played together yesterday, Amit, and he's really into the diatonic, or, all of the things that I've ignored, really the fundamentals of music. So,
Dude, I was just talking with the guitar player, a great guitar player the other night on a gig, and we were talking about, he's like, yeah, he's a master at making people think that he's a master.
and
That's what his expertise is making people the illusion that I know what I'm doing.
Well,
But
mastering
yeah,
something.
oh yeah. And for my students, and anybody that comes to see me, it's like the choice, they give up the choice to whether or not they get to learn the modes of the major scale and scales and arpeggios and chords and learn how to count beats while you play and all of these different things. If you're going to invest in coming to see me, to learn how to play guitar, then that's what I'm going to teach you.
Awesome. Awesome.
And then it benefits the people get blown away as long as they study. People that won't study or whatever, and um, there are people that make the choice not to do it, and
Yeah.
that's okay. But yeah, it's that's what I get paid for, and that's important to me. Like even if we were just powwowing and stuff like that, it makes a huge difference. So if you don't know the major scale and the modes of the major scale, that's just the starting point. That's the tip of a huge iceberg underwater
Yeah.
that's submerged, and that's where your balance is. That's your foundation of everything, and all of that information is available on the internet. It's right there. I do tell my students, don't take my word for it. Do your due diligence and Google it. Google every chord you ever play, Google every scale you've ever heard of, and start taking notes and study. Be a student.
Yeah. Or Chat
And
GPT or whatever.
yeah, if that's what you want lessons, that makes you a student. So what are you studying and get on it?
Yeah.
Invest in yourself, the time and things like that. So yeah, I think for you, after watching you play and do your thing, you're gonna do fine on this gig. Keep your head really light. So just roll with it, baby. Roll
That's
with it.
good.
Yeah,
That's
and
good.
keep it all light, and you can put your heart right out here, and
Yeah.
people are going to gravitate towards that. It's going to go great for you. And if
Appreciate
you
that.
want to improve as a guitar player, it's going to be the same thing you're going through with your vocals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got to do the work.
I know. I know. Well, thank you, Brian. And what are you up to? How can people see you? Are you performing live anywhere? Obviously, are you taking on any new students at this time?
That's such a funny story because yeah, I did a great gig with Mr. Pink last Friday up at the Quilceda Casino and stuff, and I called the guitar player on the way there, and I says, "Hey man, how would you feel about me interviewing you for like a rig rundown before after sound check, and for the group? He's in our group,
Uh-huh.
all things guitar on Facebook. So you make sure you join our group. Anyway, after sound check, we were like, man, we got to go get our food. And after the food, we were like, well, we're kind of full. And we got to get our suits on. So we never got it done.
Uh,
But my goal is to be more active, video wise,
yeah.
doing live things, streams and stuff like that, and really be in there. So if somebody was to say, "Hey, Brian, when's your next live thing?" Boy, I'd be on there thinking somebody cares, or
Definitely
whatever.
care.
It's been really cool. But yeah, I don't post that stuff out there too much. And I would like to change that. It's been
I'll
an
keep
interesting.
asking then. I'll keep asking on all things guitar. Where you're
It's
playing
been
this
a
weekend?
thing. Yeah, I don't I'm not very good at promoting that stuff for various different reasons, and I want to get around that and basically just be online all the time sharing everything, but that's proven to be quite challenging for me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I love what you're doing there, and I think I might have caught. It seemed like when you were just getting started, and just you being yourself, and being authentic, and stringing a guitar. Or, I mean, just the different things that you're doing, and then going through the scales is awesome. So thanks for doing that, and thanks for being you. You're a
Wait
good
a
man.
second. Look at this guy.
Ah,
Oh,
who's
it's
that?
Mr. Jack.
Mr. Jack?
Yeah, he wants me to be done working. I've been teaching
All
all
right.
day.
Ah. Well, I see Kimberly. A couple of comments there. Thanks for hanging out with us for a bit. And anyone else that's looking, um, I'll keep sharing what I'm up to. And come on out and see me busking. I'm looking at 7-Eleven, July 11th. I don't have a time yet or location.
That is so rock and roll, and you know that. You know that. That's like
Right?
that's like punk rock.
I know when I saw that day, it's like that's a month from when I started this thing, so that's got to be it.
You should probably do some Sex Pistols
Okay.
or some Ramones.
I'll add that to the set. Well,
Okay,
thanks a
brother
lot, Brian.
Mitch. So yeah, I'll be watching you on your Facebook page, and you watch me, and we'll be friends.
Right on. Thanks, Brian.
All right, bless you, brother.
You too.